Welcome everybody to our latest Thinking Thursday. We've gone a slightly different route. We've done a little bit of politics, a little bit of betting. Very much wanted to look at welfare from the beginning, and chosen two guests who I think have very different insights or come from very different angles in terms of greyhound rehoming. But both absolutely invaluable, and I think two very well known names in the industry. Dealing with Kevin Stowe, who we have repeatedly spoken to from the Lincolnshire Home Finders. Uh, Long and extensive career rehoming dogs, and I think we can go just a little detail into that in a second. And of course, Claire Haddon from Your Grounds History, by far the greatest breakthrough of anything that we've seen in the last probably 10 years. As a fantastic link between the new owners of the greyhounds and the previous owners and trainers, done a fantastic job and rightly being acknowledged and honoured, even since Claire and I have last spoken. So, ladies and gentlemen, like to kick off. And Kevin, you started when, and how many dogs have you owned, and have you seen significant changes in that time?
We set up as a branch of the Retired Greyhound Trust in December 1998. So we've been going 23 years, nearly 23 years. We've around 2,153 so far. I come from an admin background, so numbers are important. Everybody tells me off for using numbers, but the numbers matter because they're actual dogs. And so I do talk a lot about numbers and about figures, but I think that's important. So we set up in December 1998. May 2004, we left the Ground Trust very amicably, I've got to say. Ivor Stocker was involved and others, and it was a very pleasant thing. We were self-financing. I felt we could do more on our own and things. And for many years, I always used to say that we're an independent charity, but we liaise closely with the Greyhound Trust, the National Greyhound Trust. That's changed in recent years, but that's what we used to be. That's what we used to say for a long time. So it was a very pleasant split, a very reasonable split. Yes, things have changed enormously. Going back when I first got involved, I mean, we used to have waiting lists, and the waiting list, I would say to somebody that put a male greyhound on our waiting list, that they could be waiting 6 to 8 months to get into us, you know. Undoubtedly, without going too political, I think it would have been very easy to be an anti in those days than it is now, where the board, racing owners, trainers, the tracks, everybody stepped forward. And it's not perfect. Nobody can say that. I strongly argue that point. It's not perfect, but it's enormously stepped forward from where we were 20 years ago, certainly, and even probably 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's stepped forward. We're heading forward. And like I said, nowadays, we're sort of almost chasing dogs. We have got to a position at the moment where I've got one or two waiting to come in, but going back 6 months ago, we were actually almost, like I say, begging trainers to retire dogs to come to us because we had no dogs. We were homing more. And we caught up with the waiting list, and we weren't alone. So many groups were coming to me to ask, have you got any dogs? Have you got any dogs we can take? They were all struggling. Everybody, we'd caught up. COVID has had many detrimental effects on the sport, on life in general. But certainly I think it helped in terms of the homing. People took dogs perhaps earlier than they would have done. Whether there'll be a downside to that in the future is hard to say. But I think if we've done our job properly, the homing groups, then I don't think greyhounds and the amount of greyhounds that will be returned when things go back to normal, whatever normal is, will be a problem.
No, fair enough. Claire, I'm interested. I was rereading, somebody flashed something up on social media. I think you might even have been involved in it, talking about some of the original statements when Your Grounds History was in its very early days. Not that it's been around for that long, despite its incredible success. Is it 10,000 members now? Is it, I think, up to 10,000?
Going on for 11.
Going on for 11,000. Now, the thing that occurs
Yeah.
to me was this, the thing that I picked up on, Kevin was talking about, yes, the antis would kind of had a right to have a go at the industry. We still suffer from aged biases and prejudice and misinformation. Do you feel, certainly checking out your original statements, that some of this is actually deliberately generated by some of the home finders, the anti home finders, who basically tell lies about how the dogs were abused and the owners didn't like them or didn't care and the trainers couldn't, am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely, without a doubt. It generates sympathy, it generates income, it tempts people to loosen their purse strings and make more donations. And this poor dog will be put to sleep if someone doesn't rehome it. The owners have just abandoned it after racing, and all this kind of thing. It's sensationalism. It serves no useful purpose. And I personally haven't got a great deal of time for it. Now, I don't have a problem with people who don't like racing. That is their prerogative. However, the essence of a greyhound is speed and running. And if you can't embrace that, you really shouldn't own one. And I would like to see them not put forward as objects of pity that need rescuing, but as the beautiful retired athletes that they are, that now just need a retirement home.